To coincide with Catalogue Week at the National Archives, I'd like to tell you about a cataloguing project which we've recently completed. We've catalogued by name, place, action and award the details in the series T336, Second World War Civil Defence Awards file. When it comes to loss of life, gallant action and devotion to duty in the Second World War, people immediately think of the armed forces, then probably the merchant navy, but rarely to civilians at home. In the aftermath of the Battle of Britain and at the outset of the Blitz, enormous devastation was caused by air raids. During the course of the war, 60,595 civilians died as a result of enemy action in the UK. More than 70,000 homes and workplaces and public buildings were destroyed, and another 1.7 million were damaged, including Buckingham Palace, the Houses of Parliament, and the Tower of London. A large number of volunteers were trained in civil defence duties. These included ARP wardens, rescue party members, auxiliary police, firefighters, medical service, and ambulance drivers. Through gallantry and devotion to duty, these individuals, many of them women, helped to save lives during the Blitz. In order to recognise their contribution promptly and worthily, two new awards, the George Cross and the George Medal, were instituted in September 1940 by George VI. A Treasury Committee on Civil Defence Honours was set up, chaired by Lord Chatfield, a retired Admiral of the Fleet. Ernest Chatfield had seen service in the First World War. He was Minister for Coordination of Defence between February 1939 and April 1940, so he was eminently suited to the job. The committee sat between April 1940 and December 1946, by which time it was considering overseas civilian gallantry awards recommendations. Submissions came to the committee from the Interdepartmental Committee on Civil Defence Gallantry Awards. That committee consisted of Home Office and Ministry of Home Security representatives. It was responsible for considering all recommendations from local sources and subsequently submitting them with its own recommendations to Lord Chatfield's committee at the Treasury. The committee then sent recommendations to Buckingham Palace, so that the King was the final arbiter in deciding gallantry awards. To consider the submissions of the committee, the committee required descriptions of the actions warranting recognition, backed up by witness testimony to validate the claims. The awards were subsequently announced in the London, Edinburgh or Belfast Gazette. T336 consists of 166 files, which are arranged chronologically. Before this project, the catalogue descriptions just provided the dates that the awards were announced in the relevant gazette. The current description for T33630 simply has Wartime Awards in Civil Defence, gazetted 23rd of the 5th, 1941. These descriptions were kept at file level, but we've added items to each file for individuals who were recommended for awards, listed by committee case number, and then by name, age, and occupation of nominee, the award they were granted, and a summary of the action leading to the award, which includes location, place, and county. These awards were primarily aimed at those involved in civil defence, such as air raid precautions officers, rescue party workers, firefighters, and casualty and medical service workers. But they also recognised vital work carried out by gas workers, electricians, train drivers and dockyard workers to keep Britain going in what Winston Churchill described as the darkest hour. A new itemised description looks like this. This is the entry for Alfred Stanley Stanford Barlow, an ARP rescue party leader from Malden and Coombe. He was awarded the British Empire Medal for his rescue work at Malden Way and Manor Drive near Malden on the 9th of September and the 12th of October 1940. Towards the end of the war, the committee considered submissions for awards to civilians outside of the UK. File 161 contains submissions recommending civilian OBEs to 21 British war correspondents. File 152 consists of recommendations for awards for British officials in the Channel Islands, which were occupied by Germany. There are papers concerning awards to local guides and leaders for services in connection with the Burma campaign, and there are submissions for civilian internees in the Far East, including Hong Kong, Shanghai, and Java. The files also contain the recommendations for civilian awards for SOE agents such as Eileen Nairn, Yvonne Cormeau, Pearl Witherington, and Odette Sanson. These brave women were dropped into enemy-occupied France to act as wireless operators and to provide a line of communication between British intelligence and the French resistance. What they did would hardly be regarded as civil, but they were put forward for civil and not military awards. They were often involved in acts of sabotage and put their lives on the line to pass across vital information about enemy plans and movements and to secure continuing supplies of arms and equipment. On the 15th of April 1942, the island of Malta was awarded the George Cross to recognise the heroism and devotion of its people during the Great Siege, which lasted from June 1940 to November 1942. File T362 includes a telegram from Mabel Strickland, editor of the Times of Malta and daughter of Sir Gerald Strickland, former Prime Minister of Malta, recommending the award as early as the 26th of September 1940. The largest number of awards went to firefighters, which included not only county and city fire brigades, but also auxiliary firefighters and fire watchers specifically trained during the course of the war. The next largest number went to police and war reserve police, then to ARP Rescue Service, the ARP Warden Service, and the ARP Casualty Service. There are a large amount of awards to railway workers and to doctors and nurses, and over 100 telephone exchange operators, showing how vital communications was during the Blitz. Around half of the candidates received a King's Commendation. The next most popular award was the British Empire Medal. 671 people considered by the committee were awarded the George Medal. A surprising number of people received no award at all, as the committee considered they were doing exactly the job that they were supposed to be doing. 334 civilians were awarded the MBE and 62 the OBE, but only 26 civilians in these files were awarded the George Cross, which shows how highly it was prized. It was rightly called the People's VC. And 18 civilians were awarded CBE. While London was heavily targeted, you can see from the results that German bombers and missiles targeted major industrial cities and ports. Transport and communications were also affected, and gas and electricity power stations and substations were frequently targeted. This represented a concerted effort to knock Britain out of the war by cutting supply lines to food, raw materials, and energy in order to weaken British resolve and capability and, in effect, starve the United Kingdom out of the war. Including the place, county, and date will widen the interests beyond those searching for an ancestor or for particular job roles and activities, and will allow local historians to discover further details about particular bombing incidents. The results can then be used in conjunction with bomb census survey records and the bomb site project to establish a picture of the damage sustained during bombing raids. For the course of this project, there were 3 volunteers, all of whom were doing cataloguing on site. The project started in April 2019, but work only began properly in June 2021 after COVID and lockdown. A blog to advertise the project was released on the 25th of November 2021, and by June 2022 all spreadsheet entries had been completed. A blog to celebrate the end of the project was released on the 26th of September 2023, and just last month all catalogue descriptions went live on Discovery. It means that 5,500 names have now been added to the catalogue for this specific series. This was a small-scale project, but we have over 100 volunteers working at the National Archives, engaged in a number of activities, including enhancing catalogue descriptions for our collection. Without their time and dedication, projects like this would simply not be possible. So thank you for listening, and thank you to all of our volunteers.